Hello everyone, welcome to Test Automation Tutorials. In this series, we are going to explore a popular test automation tool commonly known as Selenium. We will start by learning the history of Selenium and its evolution over time. Then, we will set up Selenium WebDriver on a Mac OS machine. Finally, we will write and execute our first ever Selenium WebDriver test. The prerequisite for this course is basic understanding of Java programming language. As long as you understand the basic concepts of Java, you should be all set to pursue this course. Also, we will be doing the setup on a Mac machine, so the steps that are shared in this tutorial won't be applicable to Windows. So now, let's get started and learn about the history of Selenium. What is Selenium? Selenium is the collection of four main tools, namely Selenium IDE, Selenium RC, Selenium WebDriver, and Selenium Grid. Among these four, Selenium WebDriver is the most popular one. It's an open source tool that is designed to automate web browsers. It helps you replace repetitive manual tests with automation. And the best part is that Selenium comes with a single interface that lets you write test scripts in the programming language of your choice. Now let's go ahead and understand how each of these tools came into existence and how they have evolved over time. So it all started back in 2004 when an engineer at a company named ThoughtWorks was working on a web application and he had a frequent need to test the changes. It was then when he thought about creating a program to automate the repetitive manual test. He wrote the program in JavaScript and therefore named it as JavaScript Test Runner. Later, after realizing the potential of this program, it was made open source and was renamed to Selenium Core. Selenium Core was working but not as effective because there was a problem. There was a problem due to the same origin policy, and that means if client and server are on different domains, then they cannot exchange data. For example, in this diagram you can see that client is on domain xyz.com and there are two servers, one on xyz.com and other on abc.com. So as per the same origin policy, the client will be able to connect with server on xyz.com but not abc.com. So to overcome this hurdle, testers had to go through the stress of installing Selenium Core and web servers containing web application on their machines so that everything can belong to the same domain and that they can test. This was an extremely tedious process. So another engineer at ThoughtWorks came with a solution and he created Selenium Remote Control, also referred to as Selenium RC. Selenium RC is an HTTP proxy server that tricks the browser into thinking that Selenium Core and the web application being tested are from the same domain. This allows JavaScript code to access and test any website. Next, let's look into Selenium RC architecture in detail, and that will further clarify how all this works together. Selenium RC comprises of two parts. Number one, client libraries for the preferred computer language. Meaning, if you're writing test scripts in any of the supported languages, then client libraries will help RC server understand the instructions you are sending via programming language. And the server is to launch and kill the browser automatically. Let's say there is a test script and these are the test steps to follow. First, open the browser, launch facebook.com and click on Create Account button. So first, tester will write the automation script using programming language of their choice to perform these actions, which are opening the browser, launch facebook.com and click on Create Account button. When test is ready to be triggered, then Selenium RC server is launched. When the test is triggered, then client library will take these programmatically written test steps and send them to Selenium RC server. Then, Selenium RC injects Selenium Core, which is a JavaScript program, into the web browser. Once the Selenium Core program is injected, it starts receiving instructions from RC server. Based on the test scripts, Selenium Core executes all these instructions as JavaScript commands. And finally, the web browser executes all the commands given by Selenium Core and returns the test summary back to the server. This is how Selenium RC works. In 2006, Selenium RC was released as Selenium 1.0 version and remained in use for quite some time. Also, around this time, an engineer named Shenya created Selenium IDE, which is one of the 4 tools in Selenium suite. Selenium IDE is a record and play tool. You can record all the browser actions and play them back. You don't need to write test scripts in programming language. All you do is just record and play. We will learn more about IDE in detail in upcoming tutorials, but for now just learn what the tool does. Next, in 2007, Selenium Grid was added to Selenium tools. The goal of Selenium Grid was to reduce the test execution times by enabling parallel testing. Selenium automation was now faster as multiple tests can be carried out simultaneously. So this is all about Selenium Grid for now. We will discuss this tool further in detail in an upcoming tutorial. Moving on, in the same year 2007, Simon Stewart created a tool called Selenium WebDriver, and this is the tool that we are going to use for test automation, so please pay attention. If you remember, Selenium RC used Selenium Core, which is a JavaScript program to invoke browser to perform test actions. But with Selenium WebDriver now, there was no need to rely on JavaScript to work with the browser, but instead there was a client for each browser. So Selenium WebDriver was overall looking very promising, so they decided to merge Selenium RC and Selenium WebDriver and released it as Selenium 2.0. Next, in October 2016, Selenium 3 was introduced, and this time it was the implementation of WebDriver without the Selenium RC code. In the last versions of Selenium, Selenium RC was playing the role of mediator. Because Selenium RC was now made obsolete, so we needed a medium to facilitate data communication between client and server. Therefore, now with Selenium WebDriver 3, JSON wire protocol is being used as a mediator to encode and decode the requests and responses made by client and server respectively. Selenium 3 was working, but it was lacking standardization, which ultimately led to flaky tests and slower test execution. Then in 2021, Selenium 4 was introduced. The difference between Selenium 3 and 4 was that Selenium 4 was W3C compliant. W3C stands for Worldwide Consortium. It's an international community that develops and maintains standards and guidelines for the World Wide Web. Selenium 4 dropped the JSON wire protocol and leveraged W3C protocol to ensure direct communication between client and server. The easy and the direct communication also led to the more stability. So now with this we have wrapped up Selenium history. We learned about all 4 Selenium tools, and we also covered architectures of Selenium RC, Selenium 3 and 4. I hope this gives you enough context about how Selenium came into existence and how it evolved over time. In the next video, we will be doing Selenium 4 setup on our machines, and we will get started with test automation. So stay tuned and keep watching.